Welcome to another episode on Disqualified Dads. I am your humble host, Farouk. I am also, for those of you who know, a father who hasn't seen his children coming up to 3 years now. I have lived out my van, I've survived on the streets, I've hustled, I have I have survived. That's it. I have just merely survived and I'm still here. And now due to the ups and downs throughout this whole journey that I've experienced. Unfortunately, amongst all the challenges that the NRP, the father faces during this time, it has now come about that even those that are meant to be helping and supporting fathers, those who are vulnerable and desperate, even those Mckenzies, there are Mckenzies out there who are taking advantage. Now, I'm not going to bang on about this too much. I've got Ahmed Raidhan coming on. I'm going to bring him on and we're going to dive straight into this. Ahmed, Assalamu alaikum.
Welcome, bro. Good to see you again, Farouk.
Yeah, you're almost a regular, bro. Like, this is a regular thing now. Do you know what I mean? It's like a monthly sort of every 4 weekly episode we've got going on here.
Alhamdulillah.
Right, Ahmed. Obviously, there might be new viewers, new followers watching. Give us a little intro into who you are, your background, MFSF, and we'll then move along into the Mckenzie scene.
Yeah. So my name's Ahmed Raidhan. I'm like everybody else, really. I've been through the mill, through family court, false allegations, accused of rape and child molesting, lost my home, all of these things. And like you, Farouk, I've survived and I've come up the other side of it on the back of the experience, seeing the lack of help that was out there, and just seeing the system being exploited. I thought, let me do something about it. So I started off helping people in just other forums, other groups, in other sort of, we call Mckenzie groups or self-help groups of people in family court. So I started to just notice an influx of Muslim men suffering the same affliction as I have, as you have. And what I noticed was we Muslim men were getting the same as what our non-Muslim counterparts were getting, and more. And on the back of that, I realized that we need to create a lane for ourselves to help support our fellow Muslim brothers going through this, because there's that kind of nuance of our culture doesn't resonate with the other groups, really. So on the back of that, we create the Muslim Fathers Group, the Muslim Fathers Support Forum. In there, basically, we try and help brothers go in as self litigants, or alternatively try and signpost them to the right level of help that we think would best suit the person that we're trying to help. So I think we started off in 2020. I think we started off with 4 people back then, and across all our platforms now we're over 1,000 people. And in that time, I think we've helped over 500 people easily. I've lost count, to be fair. And every week we're getting more and more requests for people seeking help, guidance on how to get through this nightmare that is family court.
Okay, look, off the bat, I just want to say to the viewers, like, obviously, me and you, Ahmed, we've now, I would say, known each other for a couple of years since I came across the group. We joined and we've, talked a few times, and here we are. We've talked about our common interests and issues in the father space. Now, as you know, obviously, like you said, you've been through this. And yeah, sorry. So off the bat, what I want to highlight is I know for a fact that, and I just want to let the viewers know that Ahmed himself has helped many, many fathers. He goes through their statements in his own family time. He has committed a lot of time and personal effort, and I know he's genuine, he's straight, because he doesn't make any money. He has helped many, many fathers. He could easily charge for little applications, position statements. He could do that, but he doesn't. He's done it purely just to help. It's simple as that. I can vouch for him. So if anyone has got anything to say, a man that's not making any money out of it, he's got no end goal. His goal is just to help. It's as simple as. So that was proof enough for me. So if anyone has heard anything about him, listen, I'm vouching for Ahmed straight up. Yeah. So I just want to put that out there firstly. Now, as you said, Ahmed, look, when you enter this space, I have to now, unfortunately, when you've been in this space for a long time, you sort of forget that early trauma and desperation. So in that desperation where, you're potentially homeless, you haven't seen your kids for weeks and months, you don't know when you're going to see them, and that element of the unknown, that paranoia, that anxiety, and you're constantly walking around with that pain. What happens with most fathers, as we know, and covered this many times, you go to a professional, you go to see a solicitor, a barrister, because your children are at stake. Your children, your whole life's work, you're homeless. Your whole life is hanging on a balance. So you think, let me go to a professional. And as we know, I mean, obviously, I'm sure, I remember from your story, you got stung a little bit from the solicitors as well. You go in there, the conversation is always in the thousands. There's no talks of, the conversation's not in the hundreds. The conversation's in the thousands. I remember my first conversation with a solicitor. It was a £5,000 retainer. And every 7 days or 8 days, as soon as the bill on top of the retainer hits £1,200, you have to pay it. You have to pay it. Every phone call, they time it 15 minutes, half an hour. You're paying for every email, every letter. So the solicitors, like I said, there are some genuine ones out there who genuinely want to help, but ultimately it is a very lucrative business. They will give you a sledgehammer when you need a pin hammer. They got one size fits all, because that comes with a bill of thousands. Unfortunately, we know this, right? So on the back of that, like you said, like yourself, you've been helping a lot of brothers, and there's obviously the Mckenzie space, the Mckenzie Friend. I'll tell you what, yeah. So we know what the solicitors barristers about. Again, and at that point, I realized, trying to frame this properly. At that time, I realized how vulnerable you are, how people play on your vulnerability, how your vulnerability is making these legal firms thousands. Hence, then obviously, I looked into the Mckenzie space, the litigant in person, and that whole area. Now, do you want to just give us a little explanation? Obviously, you've been a Mckenzie effectively because you've supported and helped an unpaid Mckenzie, I should add. You've helped and been in court, supported fathers and whatnot. Do you want to just give a brief explanation as to what a Mckenzie is?
So a Mckenzie Friend, essentially, there's no what you call accreditation for it. It could be anybody. It could be a guy off the street. It could be somebody that's got a bit of a law background, but they've not turned it into something commercial kind of qualification. It could be anybody really. So basically, from a legal perspective, a Mckenzie Friend could be just somebody there to support you in court. Unlike a solicitor or a barrister, they don't have a right of audience. You can request it, but a lot of the times you're going to get shut down. I think there's a bit. I've seen that there's some sort of give more on the financials where Mckenzies can talk, but when it comes down to the kids side of things, they're a bit more hesitant from the courts looking at it. But so it's unregulated. There's not a governing body. I think a few people have tried a few things and tried to overarch some kind of framework to say this is the standard of a Mckenzie and so on, but really there's no official body, so it's very difficult to manage. So again, a Mckenzie Friend could be anybody. They don't even need to have any qualifications, and they can't speak for you really in court unless the court grants them permission. And it does happen, but it's a bit of a rarity. And that's a Mckenzie Friend in essence.
Yeah, effectively, yeah. The Mckenzie Friend is a guy, if you're a litigant in person and you can't afford representation, but you want someone there to support you, it's just a friend that comes along and sits with you. If that friend happens to have family court knowledge, legal knowledge of some sort, he can whisper into your ear, he can guide you and give you information to speak. And I think the original Mckenzie Friend was a guy who was up for some sort of charge or something or other. And what happened was, when he went, because he couldn't afford representation, he went in on his own and he was found guilty. So he disputed it on the fact that he had no representation and he couldn't afford it. So I think the judge said, you can bring someone in. And a friend of his apparently had some legal knowledge. So he came in with him to advise him and help him and guide him through. He was still found guilty, but this time they made sure it stuck because he had someone there with him. But that is the term Mckenzie Friend. It's the guy there with you. And I think that's evolved in the family court area because obviously criminal law, civil law, slightly different. Family court, like I said, it's a set structure and system. The Mckenzie Friends are people that have been through the system and have then been familiar with the system after being litigants in person. They've started taking up, like, due to the the pain and the trauma, the passion, and I mean, once you've been through the system, you sort of have that compassion for others who may be going through it. So some people have taken it up as a full-time profession. Some people like yourself do it, you've just been helping fathers free of charge. Ultimately, so you're a Mckenzie Friend who's just doing it for free. Some people do it on the side. They charge a small amount, covers their expenses, and it's their giving back ultimately. But that is what a Mckenzie Friends is. And the Mckenzie Friend falls into 2 or 3 categories. Like I said, the professional Mckenzies who do this full-time for a living, they have a practice. They might employ other other employees underneath them who are, who would act as Mckenzies. There are those like yourself. You just do it out of feasibility, just to help out, in your own time as part of your organization. And there are those who charge a little bit who do it on the side. So the keys we need to establish.
And also, let's not forget, Farrokh, a Mckenzie Friend could be just your friend.
Yeah, literally,
to support you in court, just taking notes, giving you some moral support. That's the levels from the very basic to taking basically somebody that's got a wealth of legal knowledge.
Yeah. So the bottom line, it could be just a guy there, a guy or a woman or someone there. It could be your mum there holding your hand while you're in court. Yeah. Ultimately, that's the bottom line. So we're not saying they're necessarily there to do the legal aspect of things. It could be just someone there holding your hand, helping you through it. That's all it is ultimately. But unfortunately, Ahmed, as we both know, when a father enters a system, like you said, the sheer desperation, the sheer loneliness, the amount of doors that are closed on you, as we've covered many times before, from the Islamic community, from the mosques, from our Islamic establishment, to the legal establishment, the family court lawyers who are there to ultimately fleece you, you are effectively on your own. Now, obviously, the Mckenzie aspect of this has grown, I presume, in the last few years. It seems to have really grown, and it's become you could argue that there is still money to be earned for Mckenzies. And unfortunately, any space where there is opportunity is going to bring out the sharks, ultimately. And I think we're both aware of certain cases where things have gone badly wrong for a few fathers. And the recent case that we spoke about and we heard about, where the father had an absolute disastrous outcome to his case. I mean, do you want to just elaborate a little bit on that?
Well, I just want to start off by saying this. When you enter family court, it doesn't matter who you've got. If you've got the world's greatest barrister, I've got a friend of mine who spent like over 400,000 in family court, right? He didn't get the outcome he wanted. And then you've got people that spend 40,000 with solicitors and barristers, the combination. They don't get the result they want. And then you've got people that go with Mckenzies or go by themselves and they don't get the results. But equally, there are people that do spend the money with high-end barristers and solicitors or Mckenzies or themselves and get results. The system is not, it's got a set format, but because it comes down to interpretation, human interpretation, you could have the same case, go to court in front of 4 different judges and get 4 different outcomes. That's the problem you've got.
Yes.
So, sometimes when people lay criticism, it's more to do with the system, because the system's not so mathematical in that, 1 + 1 = 2. This is, you could get 2, you could get 4, you could get 24, 72, anything. That's the problem we've kind of got. So sometimes you can't fully lay the blame at anyone, right?
Yeah.
But generally, what you can do is that there's certain levels of professionalism. Now, if you're taking your friend to court with you as a Mckenzie, that's different, right? You're not paying for professional services. You've got somebody that's there as a support. But the moment you sign up a contract with somebody that says to you, right, I'm a professional Mckenzie, I'm going to charge you 3 grand, 4 grand, 5 grand, 10 grand, 15 grand, whatever the charge is. Everybody has their own prices. But the moment you're there, then you're it's like you've taken on a professional contract from that point. Or you signed into a professional contract. And what you should be expecting should be a level of service. In the same way, if you went to a restaurant to eat, you walk in, you sit down, you're expecting a level of service. And I think that's where things have kind of gone skew whiff, as it were. From the stories we've heard, especially recently, where we heard about the particular brother that prompted this session, it meant that he's lost his home. He's going to lose a hell of a lot of money. He's going to have to start from zero. Not only that, but it's also going to scupper him moving forward in life. So, such was the extent of the level of lack of support in this. It's just absolutely horrendous. Disastrous.
Yeah.
But then also equally, we've also heard cases where where one person's got a Mckenzie Friend. That Mckenzie Friend is supporting one person, but partway through decides to jump ship and help the other side.
Oh yeah, I've heard this.
I mean, this is the level of craziness, and this is why it comes down to really setting your expectations right. I think a lot of people, what they're doing is they're trying to find the easy answer, but equally they're trying to find the cheapest answer. And sometimes, in all honesty, you get what you pay for. If you're going to McDonald's and pay for £5 and you try and go to a restaurant and pay for £5, you're not going to get the same level of product. So,
okay,
again, I think people just need to really start realizing that within yourself, everybody has a gut feeling. You know when it's going right, you know when it's going wrong. And I think people need to start realizing that. So when you are taking on a professional Mckenzie, you are actually letting somebody into your life, into a very private part of your life, because these people are going to read documents that are going to talk about all aspects of your relationship, whether it's physical, emotional, spiritual. Pretty much the documents are out there are very, very detailed. And this is why you have to do your due diligence in making sure that you're finding the right people. Again, when you pick up the wrong people, you start getting the wrong. The experience is a bad experience, and you end up with the really bad results, like we've just spoken about.
Okay, let's break this down a little bit more. So look, if you employ so obviously you've got your solicitors, barristers. We've now decided. So let's say you're a father, you've entered the system. You were lucky enough to watch some of our videos, some of our content, and realize I don't need to go to a solicitor or a barrister. They cannot bring any effective result to the outcome. The amount of money you spend, like you said, does not mean equal a good outcome. Yeah, there's so many nuances. I would personally say don't want to be a complete litigant in person, as in completely on your own, because there's some terminology, even after watching videos, learning a bit of this, when you're in there, they've got legal aid, they've got a barrister, a lawyer, they might run rings around you, you've got one chance. So I would say take someone with you, a Mckenzie, a paid Mckenzie. So we are now talking about a professional Mckenzie service. So let's say, for argument's sake, that can cost between £3,000 to £8,000 somewhere, a professional Mckenzie service. If you're doing, child access, depending if you've got fact find, allegations, X, Y, and Z, maybe in some cases financial as well. Some Mckenzies do financial as well. But you're going to spend between £3,000 to £8,000 potentially with a Mckenzie, depending on the complexities of your case. Now, when you employ this Mckenzie, the thing you said is look out for professionalism. So just like any other industry or service, right? Has he got an office? Does he have a proper email with a logo and all the admin element to it? Does he have a proper telephone number? Does he have a landline? Does he have a proper website? I would say, just check out these basic stuff, because this guy, if someone charging that sort of money, still is a professional service. He's not someone who's doing it on the side, helping you with forms of position statements for a couple of £100. It's between £3,000 to £8,000. So spending a bit of money, you want some sort of service, right? So check out, would you say they need to check out those basic things first? Office, landline, website, documentation. Does he answer the call when he says he's going to call you at 8? Does he call you at 8? Does he call you back? Does he email you back on time? Does he respond within reasonable time? Is there some professional element to it, or does he meet you in a car? I've heard of Mckenzie's meeting people in a car park in a car, like random middle of the night, like some I don't know, man, like some sort of dodgy deal. I've heard of stuff like this.
Yeah.
So
I mean, there is all that. You can take that professional element, but I think the biggest thing is when you're speaking with a Mckenzie, when you, like anybody, if you went to buy a car and you go to a car salesman and the guy's explaining something to you and you walk away from that experience like, I trust that person because they gave me the information that was needed. It was clear, it was crisp. I know where I am. I know the details of that car, and all my questions were answered. There's lots of elements to it, but you're right. Basic professionalism, a website, email address, an office. I know you do get some Mckenzies that work part-time.
Yeah,
they have a professional and that, but they need to be upfront and clear about that.
Yes.
And maybe that's part of your checklist. That is this person dedicated? How much? You get some Mckenzies that take every and any case. They don't have a set limit. There are some people that just take and take and take and take, and then all of a sudden there are 50 cases deep, and then they've got clashes going on and courts, and they're not even turning up for court. We had one case where the brother was in court. He's waiting for his Mckenzie. The Mckenzie didn't even turn up. Then it transpired that the Mckenzie was at another hearing, but he went picking up the phone call. There's all these sorts of things that kind of go on, and people are, but the thing is, this is what gets me. What you get, that end product, is you can't flip then because the signs were there beforehand. He's hard to get a hold of. He never answers his phone. He never gets back to me, or he gets back to me late at night during 9 to 5. He's not available.
Okay.
Contact.
The thing is, with that though, look, one thing I've realised over time now, all Mckenzies to a certain degree, they're just like solicitors, whatnot. They are inundated. Sometimes I think this is a common theme amongst. I'll get back to you later. I'll call you tonight, tomorrow. There's always that discrepancy, so I'll give them a pass on that. Yeah, but I'll say this. So the first alarm bell I will say, if he's late for a hearing, if he's not there an hour before, you're not meeting him for a coffee an hour or 2 hours before your actual hearing, yeah, that's an alarm bell, right? And the fact that if he turns up late or if not turn up at all on your first hearing, I would personally say that is a major alarm bell. That's what you need to look out for, major alarm bell. If you can't be bothered to turn up, if you can't be bothered to catch the earlier train, if you want to charge for a hotel but then catch a train in the morning, listen, all of these factors, you need to look at this. You need to take these straight away. That's an alarm bell. The other thing I'll say is this, like you said, the old car salesman. If you go to a car salesman, let's say the old second-hand car salesman, when someone's trying to give you the hard sell, you get that vibe where you're feeling pressured. You're not comfortable. You're feeling pressured. You're feeling cornered. Sometimes, your gut feeling where we spoke about, it's the white coat syndrome. You think he's the professional. You're not feeling good about it. You don't know if he's having you on. But you just think, well, what do I know? He's a professional, or he's got a little bit of that, yeah. If you don't feel comfortable, this is what I've said. Rule number one. Look, let's go back to my basic checklist. Rule number one of entering the family court system: trust no one. That means your Mckenzie, your friends, any fathers groups. Trust no one. Anyone that gives you advice, as I've said from the off. Trust no one, because it's not their kids, it's not their problem, it's not their loss, it's not their trauma. Yeah, they don't understand what you're going through. Yeah. Secondly, there are sharks out there, going from barristers, solicitors, all the way to these Mckenzies, like we said, these rogue Mckenzies out there. There are sharks. You cannot trust them. So what you need to do is whatever information you receive from these Mckenzies, you need to go back and get other opinions. Just try and compare notes a little bit. Do a bit of your own research, but do not take it at face value. That's one thing I've always said. Do not take anything at face value. And thirdly, question everything. And going back to the old element of you are a paying client, because what happens is, I think there's an element of sometimes, you don't want to be too overburdening and whatnot onto your Mckenzie. if anybody's trying to help me, supporting me, I don't want to be too overbearing. Yeah. Control the frame of the conversation. I would say ask questions. Question everything. And if he gets annoyed but he comes back with a good counter argument and say, this is why we're doing this, this is because of this, and if he can counter and he can come back and he can explain things to a way you understand, I would say that's what you settle for. You are the client, you are a customer, you're the paying customer. He's working for you. Remember this. So do not be scared to challenge them, ask questions, do your research. And also, I said, like the way I've done it as well, I come up with suggestions. If I'm not happy with the answer, I go look for loopholes. I do a bit of research. I come back and say, what about this? What about this? What if we try that? Then he says, actually, that's not a bad idea. Maybe we can do it. We can do it like this now because of this, this, and this, because you've now come out with X, Y, and Z. So my point is be proactive, be challenging, question everything, and trust no one. I've said this from the off.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think the word understanding is very important there, Farouk. You've got to have somebody that's going to make you understand. Look, you're the novice. You're blind. You're relying on somebody else's expertise. Now, this person is not going to be your voice, but they're going to be your guide. They're going to help you draft out your statements. They're going to be in court and giving you little nudges, directions, and all these things. Now, if they're not making you understand the strategy or even how the court process works and what you've got to deliver at each stage, because the thing is, I think a lot what I always see is everybody thinks that in one hearing you're going to get the lot. We know that's not true. Expect 1 year of your life to disappear at least, if not more. And people think, okay, every time they're in court, they think, right, I've got to just say everything and get that result.
Get it all out. Okay, get it all first out. Hearing,
right. And that's strategically that's problematic. But that's where if you've got a professional Mckenzie, somebody that's been in and out of family court, that's done lots of cases, they should be guiding you. Like, look, here we are at the first hearing. Let's take first hearing for example. They should be saying to you, look, this is just setting the scene. The judge doesn't want to go through everything. You've got 1 hour for this hearing or 30 minutes. They're not going to go through the whole aspects of your relationship that, you met here, it was sunny, you were running across the hills in Switzerland and she was singing Kulhonaho or something. This is what people are writing, in all honesty, like, they're...
the statements? You say they're writing this in the statements?
Yeah, they're writing to that level, near enough to, I wore a red shirt, she wore a pink feather, and do you think the judge wants to know this, right?
We watched Titanic on our first day.
Yeah. Well, and they think they're writing some kind of novel. And this is where your Mckenzie is. If you're professional, the thing is, again, it also goes back to Mckenzie Friend. They're not your friend. This is your legal helper. I think that's what they should really call it. They should have Mckenzie Friend for a term for something that's
holding your hand. He's there to hold your hand. This is a legal representative.
Yeah. And they should call this like a legal helper. That's something that's not got the full access, full rights of in audience of court, but they've still got some legal help there, right? Now, this person, and that's what you've got to treat him as. And then from there, they should be explaining to you that this is where you are at this stage in court. They should be setting your expectations from the off.
They should be prepping you up, like you said. If he's not there an hour or 2 hours before, or you're not having a phone call or a Zoom call the night before, and he's prepping you up, say, for example, he'll say, right, it's the first year. You're going to be like, right, okay, is this going to happen? And he says, listen, hold your horses. It's not going to be that exciting. At best, you'll say your name. We'll find out who all the names are, where they live, why we're here, and that'll be the end of the hearing. My point is, he should be prepping you up, should he not? Absolutely. The night before, the morning before, a couple of hours before. That's the whole point, isn't it?
Well, another giveaway sign is this. People write their statements because obviously it's your life, right? You were there, your experience. Mackenzies don't know. Even solicitors, barristers, they don't know. They're going to rely on you.
Your information.
To deliver the information of the relationship. If you've written a statement out, what you think is in your head, and you give it to the person, and they're like, "Yeah, that's okay," and they just tweak a couple of words, and then say, "Yeah, that's fine, send it in." I'd be questioning that. That to me, if you've sent something in and they've not basically chopped up your document, and if it, from what you've sent to what you receive back, doesn't look different,
Yes.
right? And most probably condensed. That's always a good sign.
Yes.
That
And
something's really been on
language
point.
changed
Yeah,
to a
language
professional
connect,
language.
right?
Yeah.
And they're just focusing on the main points that really matter in court, because you don't know. You think you know, but this, that, the other, in our heads, you know what we've got an idea of court, but what court really is, we don't know. But your professional knows what court really is, what they're interested in. So they should be tailoring your document, taking from what you've given them and saying, this is important, or this is trash. And I'll be honest with you, 80% is like there. And brothers are like, but I put all that in. But bro, I get it. The fact that
It's
you wore
irrelevant. It's
Levi
irrelevant.
jeans on that day don't make a difference. Yeah, honestly, trust me. I don't care if they were, tapered. Honestly, just don't care. So, but that's aside. But if you're giving a document and it's coming back like, a couple of spell checks and a couple of spaces here and there, that to me be worrying. Unless
Okay,
you've done
so
it dead on point. But generally, I'd say that's it. So then, like you said, Farouk, you should be being prepped. You should be being prepped and strategized. At least, like, look, the first hearing, in all honesty, you're not going to get much because we're just setting the scene.
it's a
If
formality.
they're gonna come out with allegations, then in all honesty, they're gonna try and steer it towards a fact find. This is what a fact find is. Our mission is this, that, the other, whatever the strategy is. But right now, we're not going to go too far ahead. We're going to keep it simple, and that's just it as well.
Hmm.
People that keep it simple, keep it in layman's terms, so that you understand that they're taking you on the journey. Is to me is always a good sign. People that keep waffling and going round in circles, that say 500 words, but have said nothing of value, is always a telltale sign as well.
Okay, look, talking about the statements now, let's dive into this a little bit. Do you think that Mckenzie should, if you've hired a professional Mckenzie, do you think, obviously, you relay the information to him either verbally and he takes notes, as in, so you say to him, Farouk, right, I've come to you, so Farouk, right, give me the gist of the problem and the situation. What allegations is she going to come out, this and that? I'll have a conversation with you. Either you're typing or writing or making bullet points. Either I verbally explain it to you and you make the notes and then you compile a statement from that as part of your Mckenzie service, which a professional Mckenzie friend can provide that service or at a cost, at an add-on or whatever, depending on what contract or arrangement you have. Or he says to you, you write down in a rough sketch as to what the basics, the ins and outs of the issue, and then he will type it into a professional language that a judge will understand, sticking to the relevant points, regardless of the Levi tapered jeans or the red shirt, or you went to watch Titanic on your first date, whatever it was. He will condense it to the correct format. Should he be doing that if you've hired a professional Mckenzie friend, should he be in that format somewhere, one of those options? Ultimately, that's what I think it should be personally.
Absolutely, Farouk. Again, if you've taken on a service, it's like this, right? Again, you've got to be realistic. What you've opted for is maybe not somebody that's a full-on solicitor or a barrister.
Mm-hmm.
So there may not be a high level of the Queen's English in there, right? That's fair enough. But if they're saying to you that they're a professional Mckenzie and they know their way around family court and they know how to do a statement, it should reflect in their work. Simple as that. If I've said to you, I should play football for United, and then we're on the park and then you kick me the ball, and then I can't kick the ball straight, there's something problematic there, right? So again, just even if I said to you I'm a semi-professional footballer and I can't even, pass the ball back to you, there's a problem there.
Yeah.
So there are signs, so that when you're giving documents, if you're giving a document in one state and then it comes back to you and it's completely polished up, and you're like, wow, I see I said, me and him wrote the same thing, but this guy's wrote it in 10 words. I wrote it in 55 words. Like, that word there, what does that word? Let me look it up in the dictionary. Oh, right, okay. Well, that's what it means.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. And you can see that that there's a level of professionalism, but equally, I'd say with Mckenzie's, they've still got to keep your voice in there, because at the end of the day, in a position statement is what's your position in court for that particular hearing.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to be able to deliver that. Now, if you don't understand that position statement, that's problematic, because when the judge comes to you and asks you certain things, and this person's not prepped you, not gone through that statement with you, like, look,
Major
Farooq.
alarm bell.
Yeah,
Major alarm bell. But this is my point. Okay, this is my point, right? Yeah. Okay, you've hired a guy. You've given step. My point is, okay, maybe to me and you that might seem clear that you're going to do that. So, but that is a major alarm bell that he's not been through your statement with you. He's not highlighted that boom, 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 boom. You ain't had that prep time. He just rocks up 5 minutes before the hearing, walks in.
yeah.
I mean, and like I said, personally for me, I know he's not a solicitor, but he should be suited and booted. You can rock up how you want, fine, wouldn't recommend it to come smart, but at least he should be suited and booted hour before ready. Basic, man. This is your case. If he has to give you that attention.
Yeah. Again, it's the product you're getting, isn't it? You've paid for a service. You want a good product out of it. And at this point, I don't care if you've paid £200 or £200,000. Once you've paid for a service, you should be getting the best because you've entered into a contract with that person. And if that person's fobbing you off, not bothering to speak to you, leaving it last minute, or you're turning up to court, say they sent you a statement, then saying good luck. They've not even given you a courtesy call that look, bro, look, Farooq, I saw your statement. Look, here's the statement. Right, let's just quickly go through it. We've just put the background in there. Farooq, the reason the background's short is the court's already got the historical information in there in the previous statements. We're just picking up from the last hearing to now, right? Then the current situation is this. Here's a statement or two about this, that, the other, and then here's what we're asking from court, right? The reason we're asking for this is because of this. The reason we're asking for that is because of that, and the reason for this is because of this, that, the other. Do you understand this, Farooq? Ahmed, I get it. Yeah, no problem. Great, because when the judge says to you, you've asked for this. First of all, you're not like, oh, did I? You know it's in there. And then why have you asked for this? Oh, judge, because of this, that, the other. You've nominated this contact center. Why? Well, because it's in the middle, judge. It's between the distance between right. It's smack bang in the middle between me and her. In fact, actually, this particular one I've chose is actually closer to her, so it's just 5 minutes away from her. So it's easier for her because she's going to be traveling with the child to the center and back again. So it reduces the travel for the kid. Right. Okay. So you need to understand these things of the rationale of what's been said there. But if they're not doing that for you, just turn up and you'll be all right. Yeah. That's problematic.
Okay, so look, this is how I'll frame this a little bit, yeah. In my mind, this is how I frame this element of the professional Mckenzie. If you've hired a professional Mckenzie Friend, let's say he has an office, he has overheads, and you've seen the website or the email, all the signatures, all the logos and everything. And this is his full-time job, or he's a guy who makes whoever, guy, lady, whatever, he makes a full-time living from this. Like I said, if he has an office, it means he has overheads. It means he needs to make sure he has a good service because he's got bills to pay, yeah? But what I'll say is this: if he is doing this as a full-time Mckenzie, but doesn't have an office, doesn't have these overheads, I would then say, dig a little deeper. Why don't you have an office? Where is your office? I would say probe into that, because my point is, if it's like this, look, if you hire a builder, let's just say he rocks up on a bus, you've got no address, nothing, just a mobile
in a carrier bag with tools.
Yeah, I come in a plastic bag with tools, or a guy rocks up with a fully labeled van, everything. He's got an office, he's got an address, he's got a landline. My point is, if the job goes wrong, you can go to his office, pin him down. There's no getting away. My point is that gives you that security. That's the difference. So my point is, the guy with the handbag that comes on a bus with one tool, right? Yeah, you need more clarity with him, or you need to watch him more, or you need to be over his head to ensure he doesn't do you over. Or there's an element of ultimately you get what you pay for, right? Yeah. So if there's a Mckenzie who's still charging between 3 to 8, he does this for full-time living. And when you zoom into him, he doesn't even have an office at home. Let's say he's got an office at home at least, where a dedicated space you can see behind. He's got his books and files and whatnot. Or you can go there, sit with him in his office, in his home, or in the back of his garden, home office in the back of the garden. Something like that. Something where he's not running, he's not hiding, because he's got nothing to hide. So he's charging professional money. He's got overheads, bills. Hence, I think there's an element of he might try and do a good job because reputation's everything. You want repeat business, you want recommendation by bringing results because you've got overheads. But this is what I'm saying. So if you're if he's a professional Mckenzie but no office, you don't know where he lives, or you can't pin him down. All you have is a mobile number, no landline, no website, no proper email, no proper what do you call it? What do you call a heading on an email? Nothing like that. You've got nothing to go back on, but he's charging that sort of money. You've got to question and say, okay, if this is your profession, why are we meeting in a car park? Where's your office?
Well, I think there's
I don't
more
want to be in a
to
coffee
that,
shop.
Farouk, because end of the day, if it's a professional business, right? Let's take all that other bits out. Okay, you could say people running it from their flats or whatever. Okay, fine. But when you're entering into an agreement, the agreement should be a contract.
Yes.
And it should be signed by both parties.
Yes.
You've got a copy, they've got a copy, so that contract lays out.
Okay.
That contract should lay out what's expected of you, what's expected of them, what it is you've paid for, what's extra, right?
Okay.
Because,
You're right.
So all of these things, right? And that's just it. Because again, that piece of paper, and then you make sure that you've got a digital copy, and you've got you got the actual hard copy as well, that is properly signed in ink. The reason I say this is, if it does go south, if it does go skew with, and they don't deliver, and I don't think enough brothers are doing this, they should take the person back to claims court.
Okay, the thing is this, Ahmed, look, okay, let's be very clear on what we're saying, yeah? There's delivering, and there's incompetency, bad behavior, and sabotage. If a guy tries his best, he does everything by the book, he's a professional, and you still don't get the result, some could argue he didn't deliver. That's not what we mean. What I'm talking about is, when you say don't deliver, I'm talking about sabotage. I'm talking about just plain unprofessionalism, not turning up late, not prepping you up, doing none of the things that we've spoken about, not delivering like that, incompetency. Like I said, giving you bad advice when you go in and you get the complete opposite of everything he's saying. So, like, we're talking ultimately like incompetency and sabotage. Then you can take him to a claims court, or you can sue him for misrepresentation. But that's what we talk about when we say not deliver.
Well, but again, it also goes down to the contract. Because
you're right. So yes, the contract. Yeah. Okay, look, can I just say something on the contract? You're right. I think that's a good idea. I know some Mckenzies, they don't have a contract, but they're professionals. But I think, do you think if someone goes to a Mckenzie now, an NRP has gone to a Mckenzie, should he request a contract to say, have you got some sort of documentation to say, like you said, what can I expect of you? What will you try and do? And just cover all the bases to say, this is what you're going to do. These position statements, you're going to prep me. You're going to attend so many hearings. We're going to cover a fact find if it comes. My point is, just cover all of these factors to say you want some sort of documentation. What's extra? What's not? A phone call's charged, or is it just, you do give me a phone call here and there. You're not going to charge every minute. So should you request that, even if he doesn't do it? Say, listen, I'm happy to go with you, but I need some sort of documentation to say we're entering into this relationship, signed by both parties. Should we start requesting that?
It should not requesting, demand it.
Demand it, yes.
Never ever get into a professional situation without a contract. Look, let's take an example without a contract, right? You and me, Farouk, we've entered into this agreement. I'm going to be your Mckenzie, right? So then it's 2 months in. Then you call me up, Ahmed. I've got this situation going on. This. You and me spend 45 minutes on the phone. And then you put the phone down, and then I said to you, "Oh, Farouk, here's a link. Can you pay me 100 quid?" You're like,
uncomfortable. Yeah.
What's this for? Oh, Farouk, because it's you're taking a over 30-minute phone call, right? That constitutes as it falls into £100 fee for that. Oh, I didn't know that. Oh yeah, sorry, brother. Oh no, that's it. But now you're in a state of limbo because you've not agreed the experience.
Yes, that's the alarm bell right there again.
And that's where when I see effery, forgive my French for the bros, right? but when I see effery, this is how they get away with it, because nothing was set in stone. There's ambiguity, and it's like a court. There's so much ambiguity, and that's where they get away with it, right? When the court dishes out orders and they leave ambiguity, then it's exploited by the other side. Right. Yeah. Same thing here when you're dealing with Mckenzies. Your Mckenzie Friend should be setting Look at the contract. Look at the level of contract. If it's meticulous and it's laid everything out to you, that's right. When we enter the contract, you're going to pay me a retainer of £3,000. From that point onwards, I'm going to deal with the solicitor, the other party. I'm going to deal with all your position statements. I'm going to prep you. I'm going to help you with your response statements. All of these things, everything that's expected. Right. That's there. What's additional to confirm? It should be in this document as well. If I'm turning up to court for you, my expenses for turning up in court should be covered by you.
Hotel costs,
Yeah,
overnight stays, to ensure that I'm there,
my doner kebab bill, right, for the evening, that's going to be covered by you. If it means, look, because I'm out the office, that means I can't make myself available for other brothers. You have to pay for that time, right?
It should be clear cut. There should be no confusion. There should be no grey area. So look, you're right. Demand, I would say now going forward, anyone out there who's going to hire a professional Mckenzie or even a part-time Mckenzie, you have it in black and white. What is this transaction entailing? What am I getting? Yeah. And it goes back to this. I just want to go back and touch on a couple of things, Ahmed. Obviously, not to be too harsh on the NRPs/fathers and some mothers that obviously they're going through trauma. I mean, we're sort of hardened to right now. We forget when you're in that space. Look, you're in a lot of pain. You're in trauma. You're an emotional wreck. You are an emotional wreck, and you want to hold on to some hope. And when someone says to you, "Don't worry, I got this," he's talking to you. You got to understand. Look, and I'll say it on the side of the vulnerable. I'll stick to the side of the vulnerable for a minute. When you're an emotional wreck like that, the world has turned their back on you. You got to understand. Most of the time, you are thinking about ending it. You're fluctuating in and out of every day. Why should I carry on? Should I just end this now? People don't realize that realm when you're in and out that zone, hour to hour, where you're thinking like that. So when a guy talks to you for half an hour, 45 minutes, you think he's on your side. He's not charging you the thousands that solicitor will charge you. You don't want to upset him because there's no one in your corner. You're vulnerable. That you can't think straight. So when this person says 45 minutes to you and then he says, "Oh, it'll be 100 quid," you think, okay, he's on my side. That's all I got. Okay, brother, take it. What sort of individual, like I said, a Mckenzie is there to support. He's a voice for those that have no voice. He's the person that has a lot on his shoulders to pull that person from, who's thinking of ending it, to giving him that little glimmer of hope, saying, "You're not on your own. I have some knowledge. It's not going to bankrupt you. I'm not going to fleece you. I'll make a little bit. It'll pay my bills. I'm in it for the good cause, and I can potentially help you along this journey." Now, if that person, like I said, everyone's already turned their back on you. If that person is now taking advantage, there's these rogue Mckenzies coming up who are taking advantage of these vulnerable people. And that's the point. These are vulnerable people who are being taken advantage of. I mean, that's what's sickened. I'm sickened by it. I mean, the amount of turmoil that we're facing, that fathers are facing, and then you've got your own. Some of these Mckenzies have been through the system themselves who are now taking advantage.
Yeah, I mean, look, Farouk, the landscape's changing. Look, so it's almost coming up to like my 10-year anniversary of since I was in family court. All my crap started in 2015. Back then, there wasn't
nothing
support, right? All I had to rely on was family who had no experience of this, and I had no friends that had experience of this, and knew nothing about it, and I had to turn to solicitors, and solicitors rinsed me. But now, look, there's MFSF, right? There's content created by disqualified dads. There's other groups as well. I'm not gatekeeping. I'm not like, oh, just come to us. No, there's lots of groups out there. If you go through Facebook and Reddit and whatnot, all these places, if you just start doing search for forums that
right.
way, you can just post up questions. There's peer support. There's lots of peer support. Thankfully, one thing that's been good in recent times is men are starting to share their experiences of family court and start to support each other. Again, back to what you said earlier, Farouk, whatever you receive, vet it, check it, make sure it's right for you.
Trust no
But
one.
yeah, trust no one. Just keep double checking it. But there's help out there. People offer 30, 40, 45 minutes free nowadays
Yes,
as the
yes.
initial call because that's salesmanship, right? And you've got to understand salesmanship. They're not going to get specifically to talk through all your case. They'll give you maybe a general overlook. Look, people say to me, "Oh, Ahmed, can you just read my bundle?" Look, dude, that bundle's like 300 pages, right? To
Yeah.
go through that, to make notes and everything, that's 3 hours.
That's a lot. Yeah, that's a lot
Right?
of work.
And
Man.
that's a
It's a
lot of
lot of
time.
work.
And the
Yeah.
thing is, the amount of people that we're trying to help and just trying to advise and do the right thing by, it's a big ask. So you've got to be realistic within yourself. But having a 30 to 45-minute call with somebody to say, look, I'm in court. This is my situation. What do you suggest? Can you help me? Yeah, look, what I would suggest is, look, this, in all honesty, your case is going to go like this. She's going to make allegations, fact find, or actually, you may just go straight to a section 7, whatever the little nuances is, right? What I would say to you is, I can help you, prepare you, but they also have to be clear. As a Mckenzie, if they say to you that, they don't say to you that, I can't talk for you in court. You're going to have to do the talking, because like for the people we help, this is why it's good to speak to somebody that's not got any skin in the game. There's brothers I talk to that can't articulate themselves in court, right? And you just know that this is problematic. So look, bro, what I'd suggest to you is maybe get a Mckenzie friend, muddle your way through a few of these, but at these main points in court, get yourself a barrister
Yeah.
to speak on your behalf.
Get the big guns out when
The
you
big
need
guns
it.
at the right
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah.
You've got to try and do, budget and try and do things at the right point.
Yeah.
But a good Mckenzie would say that to you as well.
But that's what I'm saying. Your Mckenzie will say, right, listen, this is my point again. Your Mckenzie used to say to you, look, we've come this far. I reckon we can get a good result, but let's not mess about now. Let's bring in the nuclear option. Let's go all out to just get the maximum out now, because he can then finish off. He can deliver the knockout blow. Boom. He should be advising you. That's another point. He should be coming up with ideas as well, back and forth. He should be engaged with you. He should be emotionally invested as you in that level. He should be engaging back and forth with you.
Absolutely.
If he's got no passion for you to, this is the other point. If he's just making a living here, look, it can't just be about money here. Especially if you're a Mckenzie, it can't just be about the money here. You're playing with people's, this is serious stuff, man. It's people's children here, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He should be a little bit, you should feel that warmth that he's invested a little bit in that. I think there should be an element of that. If you're not feeling this stuff, I would say, listen, alarm bells. Don't just keep going with it. Sorry, Ahmed, carry on.
No, absolutely, Farooq. And you want somebody that's, and this is the problem, isn't it? Because sometimes you want somebody that's going to fight your corner for you, but then it's judging: is it genuine or is it false? Number one, but also on the back of that, if somebody can, it's easy. In all honesty, right? It's easy to say go get a barrister, right? But if you can't afford it,
no, listen,
then you have to be in that corner. Then you go, right, look, bro, look, ideally barrister, but you don't have the resources. So let's figure out a plan here, right? We're just going to have to go toe to toe. Yeah, coach him through, and if that takes a whole week of phone calls from 8 to 10 o'clock at night to prepare for this final hearing or this fact find or whatever, that's what should be done. That's where it should be, and that's where I see like that, the level of service that's not being delivered to brothers. It's poor when people aren't going in with proper game plans and stuff. That's where you've not got the right help. Because I've actually seen Mckenzie's do a bit of a crappy job, and then say, oh yeah, get the barrister in now, right, and hope the barrister's going to turn it around for them. Trying for their screw ups, and then when they don't get the result, it's like, oh, that barrister let you down, bro. It's such a potluck thing. It's a really strange one. It's just such a tough one. But again, it goes back to this. It's not just one moment with a Mckenzie. When you've got you in a relationship with a professional Mckenzie, is quite personal in a weird way, and it's a whole history together that you spend. Like you're going to spend potentially a year together. You're going to be contacting this person and this,
Maybe
that, and the
longer,
other.
yeah.
They're going to be part of your life near enough for a year.
No, they might see you cry, man. They might see you at your most
Yeah.
vulnerable state.
Oh,
Look, let's be honest.
exactly.
You are in a vulnerable place. This is what I'm trying to say. And okay, look, this is my direct advice. Because look, I keep trying to tell myself, don't forget the trauma and pain these people are in when they're hiring these guys. And like you said, you're right. The landscape is changing. Just on disqualified dads alone, the content, just the information, just me and you that I put out there, which wasn't available 8 years ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago, that is now there. The videos I have done on molestation orders, fact finds, what a Mckenzie is, because this information wasn't available readily. It was in dribs and drabs. I took it upon myself to get this information. This information is out there. And if you, let's say someone right now has hired a Mckenzie, they can correspond some of the stuff they're hearing from their Mckenzie with these videos. The information's there. It costs nothing. It's cost them nothing. I footed the bill for this. You footed the bill for this, Ahmed. We've got enough content out there. So you're right. There's a certain element of, I'll say this. If you're going through that pain and trauma right now, you're a father going through the system, the world has turned their back on you. These videos are free. This content is free, ultimately. We have footed the bill to ensure this information is readily available so you can compare it. And the information, I can categorically say, that's out of disqualified dads. I would correct me if you think I'm wrong. It is tailored in layman. You've got the professional there saying it the professional way. I have explained it in layman's terms so builders and other tradies and other street guys can understand it. On every level, the explanation is there. This is what you need to worry about. This is what you don't need. We have got the information out there, loads of it, right? Yeah. So if you go on Mckenzie now, you should be comparing it with this information that we've put out there. So the knowledge is there. And if you're going through that pain and trauma, like I said, you have to, what's the word I'm looking for? The pain and trauma is not an excuse to be just ignorant about this, yeah? Because it's your neck on the line, your children on the line. You have to take charge of your emotions to a certain degree, because you owe a debt, a service to your children.
Farooq, I just want to come in on that. I think the point you're making there is really good, because really you've got to take responsibility. I think it is what it comes down to. Too often I see brothers are basically, I'm carrying this weight, I can't carry the weight, and they're just looking for anybody, right, to say, here, bro, you carry this weight for me. You go fix this situation for me, right? That's where the exploitation happens.
It's that trauma. It's because of that trauma. I understand. They want to.
Trauma, fear.
He's
everything.
got me. It's yours. You got my back, right? I can just lay down under you. You've got me, sort of thing. That's what happens, isn't it?
Yeah, but they don't want to take that responsibility. They just want a quick, easy answer. It's like this: I want a six-pack. I don't want to go to the gym. I don't want to eat right. I don't want to follow my macros and my diet plans and all this stuff. But I want the six-pack. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to get Farooq here to go do the running and lifting for me, right? And I'm going to wake up in the morning with this whopping six-pack. It doesn't work like that. You need to lift. You need to put in the work. And if you're going to offload this thing to somebody else and not pay attention to what's going on, then you deserve what happens to you, in all honesty. Because if you can't take responsibility for your life, for this war, you're in a war, for this fight, for your kids, then you don't deserve it, in all honesty. And you deserve to get fleeced, because you're just palming off that responsibility. Take responsibility, take an interest, fight the fight. Look, Farooq's created a whole bunch of content. Alhamdulillah, fantastic stuff, right? Equally out there, there's support groups, MFSF. There's a whole chunk on Facebook. There's a whole chunk on Reddit. There. If you are going to thinking of a particular Mckenzie friend, go ask around. Go to different groups. I'm gonna the Ahmed Raidhan Mckenzie service don't exist, by the way. But say you want to go there, you'd go to various groups. Has anybody heard of Ahmed Raidhan Mckenzie?
You're gonna listen. You're gonna start getting accused of fleecing people.
No,
the haters are gonna come out here just.
But go ask about. Go ask. Like what's your experience with this chap? Right. I'm considering him to be my professional Mckenzie friend. Right. I'm going to entrust this man to work alongside with me, not do it for me, to work side by side with me, to go fight for my kids, to go fight to protect my assets, whatever it is this guy. This guy's an idiot. And you have to expect that. Listen, when you're in the service industry, and that's essentially what we do have here, right? You're always going to get disgruntled people, You have to accept that.
You're going to get some of that. Look,
Yeah,
definitely,
right.
yeah,
But
100%.
then equally, you're going to get that. Then you have to read it off and weigh it off. Then your own personal experience. When you speak to people, I don't care what people say. You speak to somebody, you're walking away with a good feeling or a bad feeling, or like,
The gut
again,
feeling, yeah.
back to that statement I made earlier. You had a 45-minute call with this person. When you put the phone down, can you recall within 5 minutes what was spoken about and what was given in advice? If you're like, I don't know what we spoke about, and I don't know what was said, and I don't know what he told me to do, that's a problem. That's a problem to me, because that means that there's a disconnect in your understanding. Like, it's like that.
If
You
you
want to
felt
try and
that,
find somebody,
yeah,
yeah, that you're on the same wavelength, then you're going to get it. You're like, oh, you get your point, bro. I think this is that. Yeah, I get that, but I think if you do it this way, the reason for this is because of this. Oh, right, okay, yeah, okay. It's a symbiotic relationship, and you've got to nurture that, and you've got to have somebody that you can work with. If you're going to have somebody that's just going to just shut
yeah.
you down and not listen to you and like no, and not even take your calls, not even turn up and stuff, red flags, surely.
Okay, that's a good point. I think you mentioned it. Look, horses for courses. Not everyone gets along. Some personalities work better together. Some sort of don't. Some wind each other up. So if you got rapport with someone, you can bounce off someone back and forth. I bounce off me and Mr. Ryan sort of bounce off each other pretty well. I think anyway. Find it easy to work with him. Hence that sort of thing. I think you got to have that bit of, call it chemistry, bit of rapport. You need a bit of
Yeah,
that, yeah. So look out for that. There's 2 or 3 points I want to cover on, but I don't want to forget, right? So let's move on. Let's just go with that. So look, have rapport, have that. But look, this is the professional Mckenzie, like you said, yeah. Let's touch on the part-time Mckenzie, because look, it comes down to why is someone doing this? Why is someone acting as a professional? And I like to say, the professional service is one thing. What is his motive? It's a business. He makes a living. He tries to do a good job, so he gets repeat business, and he has sufficient information, knowledge. Like you said, do your vetting, do your homework. Don't just trust no one again. But let's say you come across those who are, who do it part time. They work from home. They do it part time. And how do we vet them? Because, like you said, there are those that just help people with applications and forms and do bits. Those that do it part time, and then the professional. So let's
right.
say you can afford the part time guy. How
Yeah.
do so we cover all aspects of this?
So look, then you've got to really set your expectations, isn't it? If you've got a full-time professional Mckenzie, then they should be basically getting back to you, within a day or two at least,
All
right?
singing and dancing. That's the
Yeah,
old
all
singing
singing
and
and dancing.
dancing
That's
full
it.
time. Yeah.
If somebody's part-time, or they're doing it for free, or whatever it is, then they're juggling because they've got a job, they've got a family. It's as and when, right? You're going to be working to their timetable. They're not working to your timetable,
Yes.
and
So
that's
it's
something
limited time. Okay.
yeah,
So a good question. Okay, I just thought, let me put this out if I forget. So a good question to ask a part-time Mckenzie is, how many cases before you employ him? Ask him. Even to be fair, you can ask any Mckenzie this: the full-time, the part-time, or the guy that just helps you with the forms and read your statements and whatnot. Is how many ongoing cases do you have at any given moment?
yeah,
Do I want to know? Because that will determine how much quality and time you can put into my case. Do you have enough on your plate? That's your responsibility to find out. So that's a good question to ask, I think.
yeah, and also contingency, Farouk. I think contingency is a very important aspect of this, because remember this much: courts don't. They've got their own timetable. They order stuff when they order stuff. They don't ask you, "Are you free?" Right? They ask maybe on a few occasions for a bit of this, like the other, but generally they make the orders. Then that's it. You get it, and then you have to make yourself available. Now, if you've got this one Mckenzie and he's got no support anywhere else, then you know that there's a risk. It's about managing risk. Then it comes down to first come first serve. If somebody's beating you to it, then what's going to happen there? And then if it is that, well, listen, I've got a first hearing with this geezer, but you've got a fact find. I'm going to. Do they have the knowledge to say, actually, you know what? I'll prepare that brother to go do the first hearing himself, and because the fact finds that's the business end of court, and that's the important aspect of it. So people that can sort of maneuver like that, and that's what you've got to kind of ask for. Like, say, what is your contingency if you're not available? Can you make somebody else available? If
Have
you
you got
can't,
someone
yeah.
available? Yeah,
If you
that's the
haven't got
10.
somebody
Yeah.
available, and it's a fact find, what's the deal? What's going to happen there?
Mm.
Because court, unfortunately, nobody can follow that format, right? And
Yeah.
you often see Mckenzie's get double booked, and sometimes you get Mckenzie's helping Mckenzie's, which
Yeah.
I think is a good thing. There should be a network that, inshallah, we want to build up
Yeah.
of people. But again,
Yeah.
but these are the questions you've got to ask. You got to know where your liability and set your expectations. And again, if they're part time,
Mm.
maybe from 9 to 5 on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday,
That's
these
the court
people,
hearings. Yeah.
these people
They're
are
working.
available. Yeah,
Court
yeah,
hearings are 9 to 5 Monday to Friday only. Yeah.
exactly right. So you know that they're not going to be available. They can't be available to take your call or this, that, and the other. And again, equally, I'll say this to you: if you're taking somebody for free, and I'll be honest with bros here, right? That you gotta understand. Like on my phone, I get contacted even sometimes at 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm getting messages like, "Who do you think is going to be awake at that time? I've got a family. I've got a full time job. I've got twins. I've got all these other things going on. I've got this stuff that I look after." And then people are just like expecting, and then they get shirty. Like, in all honesty, right? There's got to be a level of respect and appreciation.
But you get attitude. You're legitimately getting attitude from
Legitimately
people.
attitude, like, you're not getting back to me or this, that, the other. Like, bro, look, and I'll be honest with you, and there's certain people, right, that don't have a good manner about them. They don't. They're not. They'll just message you straight. I need you to talk to you, right? And you're like, well, hold on a second. Like, we need to plan this out, bro. I'm in a situation, right? This is the situation. Can we arrange a time to speak? I think there's a level of courtesy, decorum, courtesy,
courtesy, politeness, a bit of friendliness.
And then also you got these other type of characters, and I think this is where it comes back to responsibility. That go around shopping around, and what they're doing is basically just going round. And one thing is this: I'll say to you, one of the worst things that you can do to yourself is go shopping around, asking one person's opinion, then asking another person's opinion, and another person's opinion. What you're doing then is you might have one person that's saying left and the other person saying right. What are you going to do from that? Okay, then you're just going to set yourself on a path that's completely wrong.
No, okay, I agree with you, but the problem with that is, and this is the problem I found with that. Yeah, so see, look, so my policy is once you find someone you gel with, you're clear in your head what he's doing, his technical explanation of the situations, and perhaps the little bit of research you may have done, all aligned. He turns up on time and all of this sort of stuff. He's smart. You can see he's presentable. He's a professional. Great, yeah. But in order to double check what he's doing, you have to go around getting opinions, don't you? That's how else would you vet him? Do you know what I'm trying to say? That's what we're saying ultimately, don't it?
Well, but let me explain it this way. It's like this. It's like you've got a football team, right? You get one manager come in and says we're going to play 4-4-2. The other one says 3-5-2. Everybody has a different style.
Yes.
What they're aiming for is the same result, the win.
Yes.
But they're going to go about
it. Everyone's got a different strategy. That's all it is.
Yeah. And one strategy can go against another strategy. And this is where you have to be mindful. Now, if you're going to take on that responsibility of shopping around, you just got to understand that. Sometimes somebody could be telling you the right thing for your case because they've seen it from a lot further. And what they've done, they've engineered something from way back from the first hearing that's going to come into fruition into the third or fourth hearing.
But by then you should be confident with your guy already. This is the point. Okay, look. Okay, just to clarify this situation, because this is where I think it's tricky. If you're at a third or fourth hearing with your guy already, that means if you follow the advice we have been talking, if you followed what we've spoken about today, you should already be trusting him in the sense that, right, he knows what he's doing. He's got this. We gel. We know we're both on the same field. We're both in the same team. We're batting for the same team effectively, right? Yeah, you're already there. And if at that point you just say, for example, oh, Ahmed, going in for a fact find, blah, blah, blah. This one, then you say, yeah, okay, well, maybe try this or that, but depends on what your guy. If I just take what you said, go back to my guy and say, look, someone suggested this, this, or this as a suggestion. Do you think this could work? He could say, oh, good idea. Actually, no, I was going to say that for later, blah, blah, blah. But are you saying that if they, because what I find is the problem is people go with one guy, they're comfortable with him, but because they're an emotional wreck, and because they're ringing the Mckenzie every 5 minutes. The guy can't get back to you. He can't talk to you every 5 minutes. It's calming you down. He can't do it right. Yeah, because or he's not telling you what you want to hear. You go to someone who tells you what you want to hear, and then you say, "Well, he said this, so you're not correct." This and that. They look for an opinion that only aligns with them, rather than weighing up the different strategies and thinking, "This is the strategy for me. This is what my guy suggested. I'll stick to him."
Yeah, well, from my experience, people that shop around are sometimes just searching for answers that they want to hear.
Yeah, they just want to hear what they
Right?
want to hear.
And unfortunately, I tell you this much: the best Mckenzie you can get, I always think, is the one that's going to be honest with you.
Yeah.
That's going to set your expectations correctly.
That's the key. Manage your expectations.
Yeah, absolutely. Bro, do you think I'm going to see my kids at the first hearing? I'll be honest with you, bro. Look, if she said this, if the safeguarding letter if Kafkas haven't sent you the safeguarding letter, she's most probably made some allegations against you, right? This is going to go down the long path. This is it. Oh, but bro, but if I say this to the judge, if I show my character references that I'm an outstanding member of the community and this, that, the other, do you think that will turn just ahead? Oh yeah, sure, let's try it. No, it's not. I'm going to say it straight, right? It's not going to make a difference because they've got that practice 12J. They have to follow that. The protocols dictate this is the path it's going to go down. But if you've got somebody saying, yeah, bro, let's put that in, yes, men are deeply problematic.
Yeah, okay,
right.
100%.
Then on the back of this, if you're not happy with an answer, articulate that to your guy, to your Mckenzie, could be a woman as well, right, and say, I'm not happy with this. I feel like you're missing something. Well, this, that. Okay, then what you could do is join a support forum, MFSF or the various other ones, and say, look, I'm in court, right? This is where I'm at. I'm at this stage where they've made 10 allegations. Do I make allegations back? Right? My Mckenzie's saying no because we don't want to be mudslinging. Actually, I think you should, because maybe it levels the playing field. What are the allegations that are being made to you? Right? Then you need to have a conversation and stuff, and then say, well, maybe because look, her allegations are quite strong and stuff. Maybe you should make counter allegations as well if you've got the evidence. Okay. Don't just mudsling. But again, there's different styles, because there are people that like to do court through passive and just being that way.
There's a time and place. Look, like I said, there's a time and place for everything, right?
Yeah.
Even in family court, right? And it comes down to this though again, isn't it? If you gel with someone, you've got that chemistry, you can bounce off each other, you can put an argument forward and say, what about this? And he can explain, you can say, but I don't agree. And he can then technically say, well, no, that's because this, and this. And you'll be like, okay, fair enough. The fact is, if you gel, you'll feel comfortable challenging him and asking him.
Yeah.
If you do not feel comfortable asking him and questioning your Mckenzie, whether it's a man or woman, whether you can question them and they come back and forth, you can't have that prolonged conversation or discussion or disagreement and still be like, okay, I get you. I'm not happy with it, but I get what you're saying. I understand the strategy. This was my suggestion, but I'll go with your opinion there because you are a professional. But you've clarified in your mind. The key is this: whatever the outcome, you know that you questioned everything, you tried everything, you didn't leave it to chance. So when you didn't understand something, you said to him, "Why are we doing this? Explain this to me again. What does that mean? Why didn't we make the allegation?" I agree what you're saying is do the passive thing, but I think we should make it, because I think, look, if we wrap all of this up, right, from what I'm getting from you is this: the bottom line is, and effectively I agree with this because this is what I was advocating on my earlier video. If you go to all my earlier videos, when I say trust no one, overlook and see everything, because the bottom line is it's your kids on the line. They're your children. No one else cares about them like you do, and no one else is going to feel the pain like you or your children will. That's the bottom line. Hence, take full responsibility, take full ownership. You've got the Mckenzie there, but like I said, question him, read through the paperwork. Don't just trust him, gel with him. If halfway through you're not happy, yes, again, you can get advice from different groups and this and that. Check out other content and then have a discussion with your Mckenzie. Say, look, I've heard about this or this and this. If you can come back and explain it and still convince you and say, no, I get all of that, but this is why we're doing this. You know you did your best. So whatever happens, there's no, oh yeah, I've got like the latest result here. The guy's paying spousal maintenance for life. I thought that was all gone. I've not heard anyone in the last 2 years, right? Okay, you've been doing this a long time. When's the last time you heard someone with a judge and said you're going to pay spousal maintenance for life? When's the last time you heard that?
I've never, no,
Never.
because and I've helped people that are doctors and like high net worth individuals, and they're not walking away with those kinds of results. So it's worrying. I don't know what's going on there. In all honesty,
okay,
right?
let's just run over. He's got to pay for the court case. He's got to pay for the ex's debt. He's got to pay for the house. He's got to pay spousal maintenance. And I think from what he said, everything he's ever owned is gone. Literally. He literally, you know, the old days of where he said he walked out with the shirt on his back and that is it, literally. So his Mckenzie didn't do a bad job. He ultimately has sabotaged. He sabotaged this man's life.
Yeah. Well,
but my point is the alarm bells leading up to that point. Yeah. Why was he still present at the last hearing? Why wasn't he ditched halfway? This is what we're talking about. Personal responsibility.
Yeah, absolutely, personal responsibility. But let's go back to this, Farouk, right? Let's lay out the steps for brothers, for people that are watching this, saying, right, I want to, I want to take on a Mckenzie. What should I look out for? Number one, take that 30-minute, 45-minute free call, right? If they're not offering that, don't, because you have to investigate. You have to find out if this is the right fit. If you do feel it's the right fit, brilliant. Okay, now you evolve it a second. Then from that point onwards, right, check their website, check their credentials, check their office, all of those things, right? Go speak to other people saying, I'm contemplating taking on Ahmed Raidhan's services. Has anybody had experience of this? Ahmed, what an idiot, right? You know, it's not clear, goes around in circles, you know, he doesn't turn up, this. Oh, he's brilliant. Okay, you kind of got two now, right? Or then if you're getting like 10 brilliants and maybe one or two craps, then you could say, well, actually, okay, you know, sometimes there are idiots in this, so you can kind of go with the majority, but you've at least you've got positives there. Then comes the next part, the business side of things, right?
Contract.
The first step of business, contract.
What are you offering?
What's that contract saying? Is the money clear that you're going to pay 3,000, 5,000, 10,000, 15,000, whatever it is, and when they pay that money, this is what you're going to get. You're going to get my time. You're going to get
phone calls.
You're going to get phone calls, right?
For hearings, for an hour.
That's it. I'm going to do your statements. I'm going to do your help you with your response statements, your all the bits and pieces. I'm going to write your emails to the other side solicitor.
Yes, hotel stayovers, overnight stays to ensure I'm on the court.
Yeah. So this is in the upfront fee that you put up, or there. That's what this covers. What's not covered, right, is my travel. The hearing day, if it's a half a day hearing, it's 250 quid. If it's a full day, 500 quid.
Hotel costs.
Hotel costs, right? Food, this, that, the other, whatever it is, it's clear cut. That's it. If it is a final hearing, if the fee's higher for whatever rate, because of like the extra documentation or this, whatever it is, whatever the experience is going to be, it should be laid out in this document. You've got to read this document. Farouk, I want to tell you something. I've had brothers tell me, send me documents, and I said, oh, what's it say? Bro, I don't know. I've not read it. Can you read it for me and tell me?
Really? Bloody hell.
Right? This is it. Then you're thinking, no wonder you guys are getting fleeced. If you can't read your own documents,
there's some laziness there, man.
That's some laziness there, and that's just it. And if you're going to be lazy, you're going to get fleeced. People are going to take advantage of it. This is why you need to do. We did a little session a while back on our channel, just about how to build a bundle, and in there was elements of case management. Inshallah, we're going to do more on that. So keep an eye on our channel for that. Okay. But you've got to do case management. You've got to manage your case. You've got to say, you know what you want, you know what you're trying to achieve, and you've got to drive the people. If you're not chasing up your Mckenzie, saying, bro, it's 2 weeks for this statement. Have you started it? Yeah,
Yes.
bro, in 4 days' time, I'll send you a statement to peruse and to ratify. Okay, 4 days have turned up. Bro, where is it? Oh, I'm a day out. Okay, please, can you make sure that it's done tomorrow so that we've got enough time subsequently for submission or whatever, right? If people are going to submit it late, they should tell you that, oh, don't worry about it. We'll submit it late, right? Because from a tactical perspective, there is that.
Yeah.
So long as they're giving you rationale to what's going on.
You're aware.
You're aware of it.
Yes.
Actually, exactly, right? So they're keeping you informed and they're taking you along on the experience. Now, if they're not answering your calls and they keep missing deadlines and so on, that's a worrying tree.
Yeah.
Now, before you get to the real business end of court, which is the fact finds and final hearings and all of this stuff, look at Farouk. You're in our group. You're in our little WhatsApp group, right? How many times have people turned up in there saying, "I've got a fact find. It's in 2 days' time, or it's tomorrow. Any advice?"
Yeah.
Or even a week, or even 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Right? Fact finds, and your Mckenzie should be saying this to you. Fact findings begin from the moment they've submitted their Scott schedule. For those that don't know, Scott schedule is a table of allegation.
Yeah.
The moment you receive that, the fact findings beginning has begun, and your work starts from the response statement. And if your Mckenzie friend is not emphasizing this and isn't chasing you, like, where's your response statement? I've asked you what evidences you've got. You know what happened. She's saying that you threw her down the stairs and that you smashed her face up and all of this stuff, right? Well, look here's the messages that day. She's asking me that, what time you home? I made biryani for you.
Yes, yeah.
Right. This. Right. That person should be on your case as well, equally chasing you. See, and this is the experience. This is what a proper Mckenzie experience should be like. If they're not chasing you, if they're not turning up, they're not answering your calls. If they're late, they're not turning up to court looking the part. Even when they speak to you, the language pattern. If they're not using certain words, if they're waffling and going round in circles, not landing the points, these are all red flags.
Yes,
and that's where what should tell you if you've got the right Mckenzie friend. From day dot, from the moment you start, if you sign that contract, and if there's no contract, walk. Because you don't know what's being offered, and they don't know what's going to be offering you, what they're going to be offering you, and out of nowhere they could be turning around saying, "Oh, bro, yeah, we had a 35-minute chat. That's £100. Oh, hold on, that wasn't agreed." But now, because you're polite, because now you're almost coming like you're like friends and awkwardness. And how many times do we just say, "Ah, screw it, I'll just pay it"?
Yes.
Right? No, it's not right. Don't set your expectations.
Yes.
They've got their expectations of you. You set your expectations of them, and you do that through the contract. If there's no contract, walk. When they're not living up to the contract, shove that contract in their faces. You're breaching this contract, right? For that reason, I'm not going to pay no more, right? I'm not. If you're paying it in installments, I'm going to stop my installments from here. We're parting ways. I'm going to go find somebody that can live up to what they're saying.
Yes.
Right,
yes.
And there's things like this that brothers have to do. And like you said, if they check their website, if their website looks like, if they're getting letterheads and this, that, the other, and they've got an office, office could be debatable. People are working from home.
No, that's understandable. But my point is, he has a dedicated space, like,
yeah. But a face-to-face meeting is definitely on the cards. Because talking to somebody, it's like dating, isn't it? You can chat to somebody on text all day long. Hey, how you doing? But when you meet face to face, like, no, you're not for me, right? So have that meeting. If it means you have to travel down to them and meet in a coffee shop, do it. This is a really important. This is you're going to war. You want your soldiers with you.
Yeah.
Right. And if you're not meeting your soldiers and having that rapport with them, then that's more for you.
That's right.
And again, it goes back to this: if you're not putting in the work to find the right help for you, then whose fault is it? It's your fault. Take responsibility.
I think obviously you've covered a lot of points there. I think everyone take note. There's a lot of good points covered. All I want to add to that now is this year, because this reminds me of those early days of trauma. And as I've said before, when you're in that state of trauma, you're in constant pain. Pain gives you focus. Pain gives you sharpness. Yeah, that trauma, your nervous system is shot to bits. You are constantly in fight or flight. You've got constant adrenaline. You can't sleep. You have energy. Because when you're in pain, we talk about this in coaching. Pain can give you focus and it gives you a determination for action because you want the pain to stop. Now, I know when I was in trauma, the ability to focus, study, read, speak, I would say it's declined now. The less trauma I have, less pain I have, the less sharper I am. So when you're in that state, you can make your brain work for you. You can do things you can't normally do. When you've got adrenaline, you've got capability you never had before. So harness that pain the right way and channel it to productivity, as I used to say in my early videos. Channel it into doing the research, into making the phone calls, initiating the phone calls, reaching out to people, groups, watching the videos, reading documentation. Like you said, you get a free 45-minute coaching to also sit. Take that action, because that pain and that trauma is a motivator and a factor which can be used if harnessed the correct way, can be used towards, it can be deployed against your end goal. So when your Mckenzie sends you a document, read it, read the court documents, highlight sections, challenge them on that. What does that mean? What did that mean? What did that mean? Because the state of pain and trauma is not an excuse to give the baton onto him and say, that's it, I'm out. I'll just lay here now until someone rescues me. No one is going to save you. I can assure you, when you're in that state, like I said, we're talking about living and dying every day in your head. No one is coming to rescue you. No one is coming to save you. And what I say to people is stop feeling sorry for yourself. The real victims are your children. You need to pull yourself together. You need to keep going for the sake of your children. And whatever happens, you know you gave it your best. You pulled yourself in. Before you decide to feel sorry for yourself, just give it your best shot. Harness this trauma and pain into productivity, positivity, and deploy this adrenaline against your end goal, which is to get through the system and have contact potentially with your children. But know that you gave it your all. And then if after that you don't get the result, feel sorry for yourself. But you need to take that personal responsibility. You have to make that decision. Look, I was in that space. I gave up. I woke up one day, I made a decision. That decision was because I went out for a walk. I went out for a walk, which led to a jog, which led to the adrenaline, which led to certain chemicals in your body moving around, getting your brain to the right frequency where suddenly you can think that, hold on, maybe it's possible. Maybe I can do this. But you need to take action. In order to do any of this, that little spark has to come from you. Take some action, yeah? It's down to you guys, yeah? The information and the knowledge is out there. We're doing as much as we can, but ultimately, you have to take the steps. You can't walk the walk for you. You have to take these steps yourself. Ultimately, your children depend on it. Ahmed, I'm just going to read out a couple of these chats, and I think we'll call it a night. Right, shout out to Brother Irshad for his £10 super chat. Keep up the good work, Farouk and Ahmed, from another father who also went through discussing false allegations into private access, but we are still here. Irshad, thank you for that. I just want to say that is going to pay for my dinner tonight. Thank you to this man. I won't go hungry tonight. Appreciate that. Right, let me see if I can find a little question here for you, Ahmed. Right, here we go. Right. Pete Hancock, evening, gents. Still feel like the wild west out there. False DV accusations. Solicitors wanted 20K. Don't feel barristers want to stick up for fathers despite knowing you're innocent by a system. Barristers will stick up for you if you show the money. But the barrister's first job, first role is to the court. Remember that. Never forget that. And ultimately, every time a barrister shows up, people think that barrister, when they got their barrister there, they think, I've got my big guns with me. The barrister's first role, you could confirm, Ahmed, his first job and priority and role is for the court. That's what people don't know, do they?
They're all part of the system. They're all part of the system.
And like I said, I know cases, like I said, Ahmed, where the barrister, the guy's barrister, the opposition's barrister, and the judge were all in on it, and they went round in circles. So they decided to do a fact find. Because with the fact find, guess what? The barristers and the judge, they're all going to make another $2.5 grand a day for as long as this fact find. So if the fact find goes on for 5 days, that's $2.5 grand a piece for all parties involved, except the poor father and in some cases the mother. But my point is, these people are all in on it. It's an act. They're all making money, yeah. So never forget that.
Bro, I just want to respond to something that was in the chats, because I'm just looking at it right now. Somebody's saying about my children, because obviously I keep getting this that Ahmed doesn't see his kids and all of this stuff. Well, look, parental alienation is real. I don't care if people want to call it a pseudoscience, all of this stuff. It's interesting. So you're going to get a first on this, Farouk. It's a bit up in my personal life on this, but I'll say it here. So for those that don't know, obviously I've not seen my kids. I've not seen my kids for what was coming on to 9 years. Now it's going to 9 years. This one was coming to 10 actually. So my ex-wife got married, and then she moved this fella in, this Maulana, special, right? But subsequently, they're divorced now, oddly, right?
Right.
So now, after a while of divorce, this is going to be interesting. Then I text my daughter every month, just, hi, how you doing? It's Dad. That's it. No response. Even my son, similar sort of stuff. Nothing. Then, literally, this is about 2.5 months ago.
Okay.
I got a text from my daughter saying stuff. I won't go into the details, but ultimately, now, literally about 2 weeks ago, in fact, 2 weeks today, I met my son and my daughter after 9 years.
Bloody hell, flipping hell. I wasn't ready for this, man. Okay.
So my son's he's like a 6'2", like I'm having to look up. My daughter's becoming like this beautiful young woman. I had a first meeting with her. It didn't go exactly to plan, but then we had a subsequent meeting there. So again, people always say to me that, I get this, right? I get people writing this. I'm sure the brother that wrote that, I'm not going to say it's him. I think some other people have written this, that how can you trust a guy that hasn't fought for his kids or hasn't got access to his kids? It's not about it's about knowledge. And I think I've developed knowledge, because at that time when I was going through court and what my situation was, I didn't have the skill set to fight for my kids. If the Ahmed Raidhan you see in front of you today existed back in 2015, my outcome would be totally different. The way I would have gone about it, all of these things. Like everybody else, like Farouk says, in a traumatized state, I turned to what I thought were professionals, but these professionals fleeced me. I am a product of being fleeced by professionals. And I knew that I got done over, and that drove me. Like Farouk was talking about his trauma, using it, get the adrenaline to do something good out of it, something positive. I used my adrenaline, my positivity to do something good, create MFSF, and help people, build my knowledge up. And alhamdulillah, there's people in the group that will vouch for me, that'll say that what Ahmed says is pretty much spot on. It's actually, he's reading the plays and he's delivering, he's getting there. So when people say, this guy hasn't got access to his kids, I didn't, right? But that was because back then I didn't have the knowledge. There wasn't MFSF. There wasn't the Ahmed Raidhan you see now. There wasn't people to call upon for help. But now that does exist. MFSF exists. Disqualified Dad exists. Various other groups, family law groups in Facebook, they exist. They're there to support you. That you can put down and qualify and say, but what's a position statement? Well, what's a response statement? There's all these things. There's peer support. MFSF has a whole big group of peer support. There's all these things now in place. Back then, in 2015, nothing. There was nothing. So when people say, why haven't you got access to your kids? Because I wasn't talking about it. I was not public about it. from 2015, I think MFSF started in 2020, and in 2020, that's when I started to go public, and alhamdulillah, on the back of that, Farouk's gone public with his story, and so-and-so's gone public with their story. There's other brothers, other people, other men that are coming forward telling their stories. And through the back of those people speaking up, we're building a collective across all communities. And so when people say this, I want them to be just think about these things. And not every situation is the same. And I'll say this again.
Absolutely.
Parental alienation is real, and it's a powerful, powerful abusive tool. And a lot of brothers are still experiencing, even after getting court orders, they're still getting that.
Yes, absolutely. I just want to ask, because I wasn't ready for this. I mean, it's taken me by surprise. I mean, even in the comments, it's like I said, I feel it in my heart because, after 10 years, people don't, though we might look like we're okay and we're talking, just one moment of contact could just take you back to that place. 10 years, your heart could just go like that. Like I said, I saw a picture of my daughter. I saw my daughter in a video. So I don't know if I told you this, but my niece had her birthday a couple of weeks ago. So they did a video, so just to show her life from from baby to 16. So in that video, it was different stages, her doing different things, along with all my other nephews and nieces and whatnot. And like I said, that made me also realize that in 16 years of my niece's life, as the eldest sort of kid in our family, my brothers and sisters, the first child, eldest. So all the other kids came along after, including mine. My kids had the least amount of it. They were in 2 videos out of all of these videos where we had loads of because again, they were kept away purposely. It was engineered from birth, right? Yeah. But then one video, I saw my daughter, right, at my brother's house in a video, and I remember that day. And for a moment there, as I was watching it, my family were watching it nice, but I had to I was fighting inside to just hold myself together, man. I was breaking, like, just one moment there, I was completely breaking. So people have no understanding, obviously, how it can be wrong. So when you saw your kids, is it on a good trajectory now? Is there more contact to be had? Are they warming to the idea? Can you tell us a bit more? Because this gives hope to all of us. Do you know what I mean?
Look, you always got to have hope. Obviously, we always get the diet of sabr and dua, prayer and patience from our spiritual guys. But it's not been easy. I'll be honest here, right? The first meeting with my daughter was difficult. It was triggering. She chuck some truths at me. I guess I had to own it, but I did try to give my side of it, and it kind of triggered her, and it was a difficult one. But alhamdulillah, on the back of that, then we had another meeting with my son and my daughter, and that was more positive. It takes management. It does. It takes a state of mind, and where it is right now is, let's see. I get a text every so often and stuff. I don't overly do it because I don't want to be overly bearing. Because I've got a lot to consider, because not only have I got to consider me, but I've also got my other children have siblings that they've never met, right? With the twins. But before all that has to happen, or before that meeting happens and everything, me and them need to be solid, because the last thing I want to do is introduce them, then for them to disappear. These kids,
absolutely.
So it's not that easy. It's not, and this is the issue, isn't it? But like, people just kind of put things out there, but there's a lot of complexity to it. This is a problem with this situation, because there's so much to manage out of it, and you have to just tread with caution, do it correctly. And one thing I will say to you is this: what struck me as I walked away from these meetings with my kids, that I was walking away from young adults, and weirdly, I've not got that bond with them as like a dad and kid should. It's
strangers, effectively.
And I had to treat them like young adults, and just say, right, okay, just try and build a relationship from here. Do I go historical? Go back your mum this, your dad that? I mean, even though it kind of hit me a little bit of that, but really there was no value in that because they're never going to understand. They're not going to understand my experience. They're not going to understand the trauma that I went through in that relationship with their mother. It was traumatic for me, and my daughter's mannerisms and stuff were similar to her mother, and I found it quite triggering. I felt like I was going back in time. And so when these moments come for all the brothers that are listening to this or seeing this, or for any father, when that moment comes, just be prepared. But your mission when you get into these situations, from my experience, is always trying to keep it on the positive. Don't talk about history. Don't try and lay blame. If they want accountability from you, well, if it's a fair comment, yeah, put your hand up to it. But equally, do your side. Don't sit back, because we're the abused in this. We're the ones that are at a major loss, and don't just sit back and accept it. I think that's my 2 pence there on that.
Okay, look, final question. I won't go on too much longer. What prompted them to make this contact? Do you know what prompted this? Why now?
I've got my personal feeling, but I'm not going to say it here because it's just there. Maybe offline I'll tell you. But look, whatever the reason is, the opportunity arose, and when the opportunity did arise, I had to still cultivate it and steer the conversation into meeting and making it into a positive experience. And that's your job. Doesn't matter how it turns up, whatever the reason is. Your job is to keep it positive and be that and make the connect.
I think that's a good place to end this. Look, the bottom line is, guys, whether it's 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, whether you have contact or no contact, you are still the father. You are still their father. You are still a father. And as a father, we have a job to do. We have a duty to do. Hence, we need to do our due diligence on all fronts, and we need to maintain decorum, keep pushing, and just continue as long as we have to, and wait for them as long as we have to. That's our job as fathers, is to sacrifice and make sacrifices. So, any final comments, Ahmed?
Yeah, I just want to go back to this Mckenzie stuff. Bros, do the work. Don't assume that you've hired somebody. This actually it still applies if you've got solicitors and barristers. Don't assume you've got the silver bullet that's going to fix this all for you. You still need to do the work. Out there is a smorgasbord of absolutely the great and the bad. Your job is to go find what's right for you. And also a point I'll make here, I didn't make this point earlier. Just because they're charging cheaper doesn't mean that they're right. Go find the right person, somebody that you gel with, somebody that you get a positive experience for. Doesn't matter if you get what you pay for, right? Some people do charge more, yeah, totally, right? Because some people do have that level of experience. There's other people that charge less, but they're going to screw you over, as we've seen. So do the homework and reach out if you need help. Go come to MFSF, go to Family Law, reach out to Farouk, to Disqualified Dads, ask around. Don't be silent. Don't be like, oh, I don't want people to know. Oh, because I don't want people to know that I'm going through this thing and all this. This is what they're banking on. That silence is what allows them to beat you. Stop being silent. Start raising your voices. Start asking around. Start getting help, and start winning.
Right, guys, thank you for watching Disqualified Dads. Before I finish, shout out to Mr. Ryan. He's probably in his office working now, so shout out to Mr. Ryan. Like, subscribe, follow, and share. Ahmed, thank you for coming. Thank you for sharing your knowledge and experience and your personal situation as well. Appreciate each and every one of you. Like, subscribe, follow, share, and I will see you on the next one. Thank you for watching.